Long time no see. Welcome to a quick tutorial of the Mi24 Hind. We'll have a look at the takeoff, flight and landing. I do hear quite a few people mention that the Hind is difficult to take off in, extremely difficult to land, and fairly difficult to fly. I haven't noticed any of that actually. I would say it's among the easiest choppers to fly at the moment. KA-50 is an exception, of course, once you get to learn the autopilot there. But let's just have a look at what's required here. So first of all, trimming is extremely important in the Mi24, unless you have a flight setup or a joystick which doesn't have a spring. So kind of like a real chopper where you where the joystick doesn't return to center after you release it. But for most of us, we have joysticks with springs, and they centralize themselves once you release it, which makes it quite hard or difficult to keep it pushed forward all the time. So first of all, hit escape, adjust controls, and find the trimmer button. Press and set it to something that's easy to reach all the time. I have mine set for the pinky switch, or pinky axis actually, on my purple joystick. Alright, so have a look up in the left corner. If you can't see these two menus, hit right control enter. So hiding, and bring them forward again. Right, so right now we have no trim, or rather it's centralized. These are your rudder pedals. This is your collective. And of course, stick forward, stick back. Right, so if I don't do anything to the trim, let's see what happens. Alright, so if I don't do anything to trim, the chopper wants to move forward. It wants it to move forward a little bit, it wants to roll to the left. Now, this is quite pronounced in the Mi24, actually more so than in any other chopper I know of. So, on the ground, with your collective to 0, pull your joystick back quite a bit, so you can just copy my settings here. And slightly to the right, so you see the little diamond is maybe what, 35–40% back, and just keep it maybe 2–3 millimeters to the right of the central column, and hit the trimmer and release it. Now let's have a look again, see if I hit the mark. So I'm not touching the joystick anything at all now, it's just where I trimmed it. And I do need to apply some right rudder pedals. So I'm still not touching the joystick. So I got a little bit too much back. Alright, let's get done a little bit better on that one. So retrimmed it a little bit forward. And you see I'm still not touching the joystick. And usually I do get the trim a little bit better. Pull a little bit too far back on the joystick now though. That's fine, it's still easy to take off. So I'm still not touching the joystick. Now, if I quickly touch joystick, just forward like this, and release it. You see, just straightens itself up to the right. Again, the trim corrects it. Left. And working some with the collective now, just so you know, if I get a little bit too much power, too little power. And we can do back as well. Now the difficult thing can be to transition from flight to flight, so let's just raise our gears and push the stick forward. Add some collective, and about now, when we feel we have to push the stick too much forward, trim and center the joystick. So now we're trimmed for forward flight, a little bit at least. Right, so if I want to drop it down left now, do that by turning left, adding left rudder pedal, and I want to decrease altitude, which means I lower my collective at the same time. This makes it much easier for a helicopter to reduce altitude while flying forward. Remember, the rotor always tries to lift you up. So if you want to get down low quite fast without overspeed, you just release the collective or drop the collective as well. So we're in a forward flight. We're not perfectly trimmed because I still have my joystick a little bit forward, so I'll hit the trim again. And you might have to do this a few times before you get it right, especially if you haven't flown for a while like I haven't. Right, so I'm pretty well trimmed now for about 250 kilometers per hour. As you can see on the left here, I always keep my rudder a little bit on the left, or my tail rotor pedals actually. If I release that, the Mi24 wants to use quite a bit of a right tail slip, or tail slip to the left rather, so I'm also a little bit here. When I turn, I add more pedal. That's to the left. So let's just turn to the left here. Go back to the FARP. Now, if you want to turn right, on the other hand, since we already have that side slip that works with us in a right turn, you don't really need to apply any, and at least not a lot of pedal for that. Alright? Cool. Now, what's your speed? Once you get close to about 350 kilometers per hour, behaves a little bit like a poorly designed fighter from World War II, meaning that it locks up completely, it takes you into a hard right roll and a downward motion. You can save it, but you need to be quick, so stay below 350. Right, once you get close and you want to land, you can either flare in low and slow, take your time, or of course you can learn to fly the chopper more aggressive. That's all up to you, what you want to do. Once you get in low speeds again, it's important to retrim. So gear down and lower the collective, start slowing down, coming in on a right turn. As long as you have speed, especially in the Mi24, it produces quite good lift, but be careful when you get slow. It's not the worst helicopter when it comes to VRS, but it sure ain't the best either. Alright, so right now I'm fighting the stick because I haven't trimmed. So for this speed I just retrim. And now I can almost center the stick. And of course we need to possibly retrim it once more. Or we'll just land it like this. It's important to remember to trim whenever you want to. Whenever you need to. You don't need to fight the stick, or you don't want to fight the stick actually. So if you're having issues, if you're having trouble, just trim it to the speed you're flying, or landing in this case. And just put her down gently, if you want to. She's pretty tough, so she doesn't really need the gentle handling. Alright, so we're down, nice and soft.